first thought it was going to be really difficult to kind of capture an anxious burlesque dancer, mainly due to the fact that the whole point of a burlesque dance is it's done with kind of a great deal of confidence. So the biggest problem we encountered was trying to convey this anxiety into the very confident dance style of burlesque.
Well, in the end we thought the best method to capture the burlesque's anxiousness would be to motion capture her backstage, before she comes on to perform the show.
But we kind of thought it was important to make sure that it ended up with something that was very obviously a burlesque dance. So we only chose elements in the dances that we thought were stereotypically burlesque.
We looked at lots of different examples of burlesque and found it to be a very wide genre. We watched Moulin Rouge, but we found it to be too stylized and not stereotypically burlesque.
We needed motion capture to characterise the surfer to look like a shy burlesque dancer. But because a surfer doesn't look like a burlesque dancer, we need to pay extra attention to detail to make it look right.
From descriptions and definitions we looked at, burlesque turns out that burlesque was originally a form of comedic entertainment. That's over the years has changed to mean this kind of upper class striptease. So we based it more on this latest definition because it's more easily recognisable and is easier to associate with nowadays than this kind of rather risque comedy that existed in the past. And it's very important that the actions were stereotypical because of the fact we've got to apply this to a surfer dude rather than an attractive female dancer.
We initially noted down initial anxious movements, which then followed by a burlesque dance. We then went through these, optimising them to produce the optimised list.
We had a lot of moves that we wanted to do, so we combined several of them in order to minimise the amount of time that we were in the motion capture studio, so that we didn't overrun our time slot.
I have a slight concern about the positioning of the markers on Holly, such as the hand. The balls were random, however on the other hand it was perfectly lined up.
I was also worried about the shirt sort of moving on me, so therefore the balls weren't always in the same place on my body.
I generally found that Holly's performance during it was very good, as a lot of the key characteristics were defined. The biggest problem we had with the motion capture data was on the final move, where Holly had to lean back on the chair. This caused the two balls that we captured by the motion capture cameras to disappear, and for the data this made those balls just drift away through the floor. A lot of time was used to remove the noise, especially in the hand area.
The data we had for the chair, the balls were getting occluded when they were sitting out on the chair, so they were disappearing from the motion capture data. So when we rigged up the character, the hips weren't moving with the rest of the character, so we had to fix that.
After recording the motion capture data and applying it to the surfer model, we realised that the motion of Holly plumping her breast doesn't transfer to the surfer, as the surfer doesn't have breasts himself. So in the animation it looks like he's just got his hands in the air. When I first added the motion capture data onto the actor, there was a lot of problems of the arm detaching and also the posterior detaching and rotating while sat on the seat, possibly due to the markers being occluded.
I personally think we could have made it a little more anxious, but then we didn't want her to come off as scared because anxious is a lot more subtle than that. But then Holly was anxious in the performance anyway, so it was quite genuine.
I think all in all the motion capture went well, but I think my anxiousness showed through in the motion capture. But I think we showed burlesque quite well with our moves.
We did really well cleaning up the data, but it was difficult to make the transitions look good. So next time we need to make sure the markers are more correctly positioned.
She wasn't really as anxious as she should have been in the end, predominantly due to problems with the data. But because of that, we now know that it's very important to match the actor within Motion Builder precisely with the mocap data itself.